I had the pleasure of attending BrickFair in Chantilly, Virginia this last weekend. I got to meet a ton of amazing builders, vendors, and even other creators that I have dreamed of meeting for a long time now. Stick around to find out one of the biggest inspirations for my channel since I got to actually meet him face to face. Let's dive into my journey from this past weekend. If you like LEGO content, please subscribe. I post a new video every week. On a side note, nobody paid me to say nice things about them in this video. These are just my honest thoughts. This was my very first LEGO convention, and I am so glad that I went. The community is just filled with great people. At first, when walking in, it was packed. I had to park at the parking lot over just to get in, and walking around inside was not easy at times. It's safe to say that the LEGO community in this area is huge. Immediately, I was searching for castles. I wanted to see what builders were doing, try to find some new ideas for myself, and see if I could actually talk to some of these awesome builders. It took me a hot minute to find the castle section. I feel like Bionicle took over the entrance, and I had to get away from that huge crowd. Upon arriving to the main section, I saw some beautiful Black Knights ships. I really liked the bigger one because it reminded me of the Sea Serpent and was just the right size. I wasn't able to find the designer unfortunately, but right after I saw a familiar face. BDD Builds was here. He was showing off his Skyrim fort Dawnguard and it was super impressive. It was so nice to put a name with a face. It took him over a year to make this. He said he had started after the last Brick Fair. Looking at the build, I loved how each tree was different, and I'm glad I got a bunch of pictures of these because it gives me so many ideas going forward. His rockwork and waterfalls were so nice. I love myself a nicely done waterfall. The walkway leading up to the castle was very detailed, which I love. I'm a sucker for a good cobblestone or detailed walkway, and of course, the barricades are always a plus for me. The fortress itself was insane, and it was massive. I loved his spiral towers. They looked very seamless, and I can't wait to talk shop with him to see how he did it. The face of it had good dimensions too, and I love how those top ramparts have whole openings for minifigures to fire out of. He did a great job mixing in regular 2x2s with those clusters of masonry bricks to really make it pop. By the gate, I love these posts with their banners. I love this technique, and I'm going to need to know how you did that, BDD Builds. It was such a pleasure meeting you at the event, and I hope to see you around much more in person now. After this, I came across a massive green fortress. I've seen many pictures of this online. This is the Dwarf Mountain by Richard Barth. The mountain and rockwork all around is just stunning, and it's just a massive amount of pieces to get the height of this build. This build also comes with an elaborate mine network where we can see sneak peeks even inside. I really enjoy the green brick though. It really makes this castle stand out and pairs nicely with the gold roofing. And although it is very green, the detail on this castle really makes it pop. It has great variety and dimensions on the outside and great use of masonry bricks. It's not too excessive and just a slight hint of that dwarf blue to have certain parts stand out. Very nicely done. I wasn't actually able to meet this builder after stopping by so many times, unfortunately, but I was impressed and had to include it. Next, I had the pleasure of meeting a few creators local to the area. One had his kingdom displayed here called Finleyburg Castle. He had brought his whole kingdom. He had Viking ships, old and new, the older medieval market buildings, the medieval dragon, and outside of those, he had a ton of mocks as well. The biggest being his awesome castle that housed many of his factions. I really loved his spiral turrets using the Harry Potter colors for the top of the turrets. It's just a beautiful 2-scale castle all around and utilizing many different techniques. I really like that big bridge coming out of the town and then this huge watchtower at the front. Little signal fire and lookouts up there were just such a nice touch. Down below, we could even see the Lion Knights holding off the Black Falcons too for a nice little battle scene. The other local guy I got to meet goes by Max Bricks on Instagram. He had an awesome Fright Knight and Skeleton Castle with many of the Dungeons & Dragons figures, skeletons, Fright Knights to help replay that Strahd invitation scene from Dungeons & Dragons. I had an absolute blast talking minifigures with him, and seeing his Glizzy Gladiator in his build had me dying. Meeting people and exchanging information and just having more like-minded people in your network is just so fun. Max Brick's next project that he brought with him was the start of his Town of Tristram from Diablo, and I can't wait to see what else he adds to it in the future. A great thing about talking LEGO Castle at these conventions is you don't know who you're going to meet. I met this guy who goes by Lego Bros 2022 on Instagram, and turns out he was a huge army builder with over 3,000 figures. He even told me he creates banners for all the factions himself, so I can't wait to get a hold of some to show you all. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a black feature and I had to go check it out. There were a ton of black 8x8 dioramas, a very cool, spooky black castle, and a few stagecoaches and carriages. If you're into the Fright Nights or that spooky theme, be sure to follow Bricks and Chaos on Instagram. She is super passionate about this theme and has tons of mocks to show for it. I took a bit of a break and had to check out the vendors there. I was really excited to see what kind of minifigures or sets might have been there, but it turns out a lot of it was very overpriced. I guess it is to be expected. I was there on the busiest day and things were flying off the shelves. But when I tell you some castle figures there had a $20 upcharge, I mean it. I, however, though, was able to find a small vendor from Pennsylvania who had decent prices and was willing to negotiate, so I got a few figures off of him. The first one was the Series 13 Goblin. He was a must-have for me. He was priced out the same as Bricklink, so I figured I could snag him finally without paying for shipping. I one day want to have a small orc, troll, or goblin faction, so this is a great start to it. I also snagged a Chope from Ninjago. I'm not sure if I'm saying that name right. If I'm not, roast me in the comments, please. This was a cheap figure to add to the bunch. I'll probably part him out. I'm thinking I could use some of the parts for my desert theme figures, or even the helmet for orcs or something of the sort. The helmet's just too nice. I then scooped a Series 4 Musketeer. I already got a couple of these torsos, but I don't have the hat or the legs for this figure. And the best for last, I got to find a Series 22 Snow Guardian. I've been looking for this figure for quite a bit, and when I saw it at a competitive price, I knew I had to get it. The winter theme is one of my favorites. I don't have much to go with it yet, but he will be a great addition to the team for the future. Outside of looking for sets and minifigures, I was checking out custom minifigure accessories and weapons. I then stumbled upon a vendor that I have heard so much about online, K-Town Bricks. I was going around and feeling all of the minifigure accessories and weapons, and once I reached K-Town Bricks, they easily had the best quality stuff. The custom weapons felt super durable and honestly, better quality than Lego. After that, I ended up chatting a good bit with Ethan, the owner and designer for K-Town Bricks. He told me that ever since the first Brick Fair, he's been hooked and comes back every single year. He's a huge medieval history and Lego Castle fan, so we got talking about all his weapons and how all of his figures and other parts are actually Lego with his own printing on top. I thought that was super cool. I hope I can get more from K-Town Bricks in the future, but I was able to scoop some weapons for now. And after feeling the quality and seeing their designs, I just had to. I ended up getting a little wooden sword that I plan to use with some children playing around in my kingdom, an awesome pike, a goblin cleaver for my new goblin CMF, and a sweet hammer. All of these will be great additions, and I'm super excited to add them to some figures. One day I'd like to get my hands on some nice armor and torso prints to go with my existing castle factions, if I ever have the budget and can afford it. But go and check out K-Town Bricks, they are so great. Lastly, I was on a mission. I knew one of my favorite YouTubers was going to be at this convention, and I have been dying to meet him. While walking around looking for him, I stumbled upon an awesome mock, a mock with some Kraken and Griffin Knights in it, and I had to stop to take some pictures. I will come back to this mock in a second though, because not long after, I found the guy I had been looking for all along. Bricking Up Brad. I introduced myself, and as soon as I told him I was Woad Bricks on YouTube, he actually remembered me. Honestly, he was such a nice guy. We talked for a good while, and he even gave me one of his awesome printed tiles. Did I mention he was tall? Brad is 6'1", so when he stood up, I wasn't expecting it at all. It really is funny how even though you see someone so much online, you don't actually know what they look like in person. We were talking for a long time, and after a bit, he told me that his mocks weren't labeled, but weren't far from him, that he had a Kraken and Griffin Knight mock. Of course they were his. This was so exciting. I was telling him how I was just over there looking at them and taking pictures. After walking back to his mocks, he showed me all the figures he was using for his Griffin Knights and Kraken Knights. He had been using some awesome Red Falcon torsos for the Griffin Knights and some of the Series 27 pirate parts for the Krakens, which I thought was really cool. The mock itself was honestly the perfect size for me. When I'm displaying stuff in my place, I don't want something that's completely massive and takes up a whole room. This mock might have been between 1 and 2,000 pieces and was honestly beautiful. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you know that I'm a big fan of the smaller ships. The ship that he built scaled perfectly with this castle mock, and I love some brick built sails. The castle portion itself had some really nice rock work working its way up the keep. The top of the keep had an awesome ballista piece along with some ramparts that were inspired by the Lion Knight's castle. The brickwork all around is super nice with a mixture of regular and masonry bricks, and I personally love when I have some texture and studs on the outside of the walls. These beautiful archways and windows gave it a real realistic vibe, and it gave it great dimensions. The build also is slightly modular, but I'm not going to reveal everything for it, so he has more to show you in his video. It was honestly just a pleasure in itself to get permission to actually post some of his build, and these photos do not do it justice compared to seeing it in person. I could have honestly stood around and talked minifigures and Lego Castle with Bricking Up Brad forever, but after a long while I decided to let him go, but it was really my favorite part of the whole convention. I got to meet one of my favorite YouTubers, and it inspires me so much to go forward. Some other honorable mentions before ending the video: I did get to see a beautiful cave troll ripping apart figures, some awesome minifigure collections, and a bunch of builds that I just loved taking a peek at. I could go on and on about how awesome this convention was to be at, but these were the biggest highlights for me. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching and supporting my videos. This has honestly been such a great outlet for me, and I'm so glad I get to share my passion with all of you. Thank you everybody for the support, and thank you everybody at BrickFair who's agreed to let me show off your stuff today. I'm sure I'll talk to you all much more in the future, but until then, be sure to subscribe to help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers.